Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. We bring you the right information to empower you, the SME entrepreneur. Tonight on the show, two very innovative and disruptive companies. First up, the focus is on Tuaman Engineering. On the other side of a break, I'm in conversation with Suparshva Swabs. Our first company in focus tonight is Tuaman Engineering. Their focus as far as the oil and gas, the power and energy as well as the metals and mining space is concerned has helped them gain market position and leadership really. I spoke to Pinaki Dutta Gupta about what they're doing when it comes to innovation in a business and an industry that sees a lot of legacy companies, and also what the way forward is looking like. Take a listen. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us here on the show, talking about why you've been named as one of the fastest growing 100 top SMEs in India, talking about what the future roadmap is. We're sitting here in your Kolkata office talking really about why you're so excited about the India growth story. But for our viewers, first up, maybe we can ask you to talk about Tuaman, what really, some of the verticals you're involved in and what work you do here in India.
Tuaman is basically an EPC company. EPC means engineering, procurement and construction. We are into engineering, procurement as well as construction. And we are having a very strong field in terms of multidiscipline construction, which very few organizations they are having this strength, in-house strength rather I should say. We are into the civil field, we are into the structural, mechanical, piping, electrical and instrumentation. So by this flexibility, we are acceptable to the customer need. They may require a full package, they may require a truncated package. Based on their need, we are just meeting their requirement.
All right, so let's talk about some of the verticals that you're involved in. Here in India, you are closely associated with the oil and gas space. You're closely associated with mining and metals. You work very closely in the civil engineering space, amongst others, with the railways as well. How excited are you by these different verticals? And for an SME and for a private company that's working so closely in sectors like this, where you have PSU biggies that are really the front runners when it comes to doing work in the space, how will you perhaps manage to gain entry?
It is because of probably our flexibility. And this flexibility comes from our competencies. So unlike we have started with the chemical sector, slowly moving into this oil and gas sector. So then we have entered to the atomic energy, is a very stringent sector. Then we have moved on to Indian Railway and some sort of infrastructure also. We did some hardware park for West Bengal government. And as far as a project organization, since we have got a huge potential of flexibility, we are switching to one sector to other sector. That is our advantage.
Sure. A lot of experts though argue for small businesses, for SMEs, you should look at gaining capabilities and experience in one particular sector, become a master in one particular sector rather than spreading yourself too thin. It's called the Indigo Airlines model, focusing on, for Indigo Airlines, on the low cost model. But you're saying that your experience has been different.
Say suppose we have started our journey in the Indian Railway sector, which is Mughal Sarai is the Asia's biggest yard, where we are just continuously working for more than 5 years. It is a repetition of contract, as continuously we are just taking care of the journey and the job we are just doing. So that is the advantage of the consolidation, as well as we are just shifting from Indian Railway journey to the metro sector also. We did some small specialized job for the metro station work. Same way you have started with the chemical sector, now we are just one of the major focus in the oil and gas sector, wherefrom we are just getting our major job and the revenue top line and the bottom line as well as.
Sure. So what specifications do you keep in mind then when you're working, say, for the metro rail project? Because the railways is, it's a fairly significant revenue earner for you. What do you keep in mind then, that segment?
While doing any particular collaboration with a technology provider, always we just do the due diligence. Means we are just seeing the synergy, the actual synergy. What is our sort in that particular segment and what is their strength. So by doing so, we are just going ahead with this collaboration. Then we are taking the interest of them, whether they are interested for the collaboration, for technology sharing, or they are at all interested for the Indian market in terms of investment, and whether they are just accustomed in the ecosystem of the Indian player. These are all the minimum criteria we used to do when we are just going ahead with any collaboration.
Sure. I want to talk about the facilities that you have in India, particularly the one in Kochi. Maybe you can talk to us about what sort of investments have gone into that. What the expansion plans perhaps are for your facilities in India that you can talk about.
If you just see the growth potential, we are not concentrating in the global objectives. Although in near 5 to 7 years, the global market is not so rosy. While Indian market, the potential is huge. And by 2025, India will emerge as a 5 trillion economy. So as far as the potential is concerned, there is no doubt of potential. And if you just consider, if you believe on the government declaration, there is a huge growth potential in terms of refinement. And current refining capacity is around 235 million metric ton capacity, which will be augmented to the tune of 350 million metric ton in another 10 years time. And so is thermal plant. They are investing for more than 1 lakh crore for the FGD, which is flue gas desulfurization. And in terms of the steel, there is an investment proposal. They are augmenting more than double. Currently 150 million metric ton. They are doubling to 300 million metric ton. So this area, the huge potential is there, and this is an opportunity not only for the MSME like us, all EPC players, they are having the huge potential. So we need not to go for the globe. India is sufficient for our appetite. And by this growth factor, we are already consolidated our strength in terms of the industrial sector, and we are diversifying our appetite to the other sector in the infrastructure.
Sure, fair enough. You've won several awards, including being named as one of the fastest growing SMEs in the top 100 club. You've received recognition from several organizations, including the MSME department of the government. What perhaps is helping you stand out amongst your competitors?
If you see the last 10 to 11 years of our growth track, rather I should indicate the fact in the past 3 years, our CAGR is rose more than 95%. Which is an outstanding, you will appreciate that. But we are not restricting by this growth pattern, rather we are setting much higher targets. In principle, if you ask the reason how the growth story is, this is because of the satisfied stakeholders. We believe all stakeholders, if not equally, everybody's contribution is very, very important for this growth story.
My last question to you then, and I want to talk about how excited you are by the India growth story. You said perhaps in the next 5 to 7 years, the global markets will not be as enticing for businesses and companies like yourself. You have a stated plan that for 2019, you want to look at a turnover of 500 crores, and by 2021, 1500 crores. So, tripling that in a 2-year time frame. What's the roadmap looking like? Where is this growth going to come from?
I'm not going to tell you the particular figure. Okay. So figure will automatically come, and probably the credential into your paper. So how we are doubling, or probably this year will be more than doubling over this top line.
Sure.
So the figure will automatically come. What is our strategy and what is our roadmap, rather in terms of focus, if you say. We have already consolidated our strength in terms of industrial segment, and we are just diversifying our focus from the industrial sector to the infrastructure, where the opportunity is huge, competition is less. In some of our case, where the uncontested market will be there. Some of the segment, if you ask me to name, that is the airport, metro, then this non-conventional energy, specifically in the solar field, sure, that we are diversifying. Currently, we have got a strength, and that we are augmenting in terms of resource augmenting. Presently, we are having 200 odd people in terms of engineering, management, finance background, and we'll be augmenting more than double. And indirectly, we are doing the indirect employment also. Presently, more than 2,500 people are working for us, and it will be more than double if we are just aiming at in next 5 years journey.
Sure, we wish you all the very best for that.
Thanks
for taking the time today with us. We'll take a break. Our second company that's disrupting the market, not just here in India, but globally as well, is Suparshva Swabs. What are they doing? Much more when we come back. To stay tuned. Welcome back with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and our second focus tonight, as far as innovative companies, is Suparshva Swabs. We've been talking about innovation and disruption when it comes to already established industries, and our second company in focus tonight is Suparshva Swabs, which has disrupted the market when it comes to personal hygiene and cotton products, not just here in India but also globally. And I spoke to Rahul Jain to understand how they're looking at the domestic market, how they're promoting their own brand, as well as what the way forward and some of their investment plans are concerned. Take a listen. Rahul, thanks for coming down to our studios and talking to us about Suparshva, talking about some of the exciting plans that you really have when it comes to the domestic market with your own brand. Let's kick this interview off first by talking about Suparshva Swabs. What do you want our viewers to know about the brand? What the journey has been, where the idea for the company really came about.
Well, Suparshva Swabs, it was born in 1999, and you can say that it was almost by chance, because my father, Rahul Jain, he had a cotton swab machine bought from Taiwan out of fancy, and it was kept in one of our toothpick factories. So nobody was interested in it. So when I was out, so we got onto it as a team. We had all been working on it, and slowly and gradually we felt that we were making a fairly decent product. And then we graduated on to some of the best technologies which were available in the world, because when we would see that someone else is making a product which is better than yours, then it makes you want to do that as well, and maybe probably better that.
What can you tell our viewers about the kind of products that you're in? What's the sort of product range that you have?
We are basically into a cotton hygiene category. Worldwide cotton hygiene category is basically known as a cotton, absorbent cotton swabs, cotton balls, and cotton facial pads as women as well, they use all over. So we are having a category of these cotton hygiene, and now also we are stepping into paper hygiene. So it's basically a combination of these two, putting together a personal hygiene space is what we are operating in.
And you're also increasingly focusing on your own brand, Tulips, and sort of growing the market for that. What can you tell us about that? What sort of maybe percentage of revenues is it right now? Where do you want to be?
We had been doing business initially. When we started rolling, and we were looking for markets. The markets were not there in India. So by force, or you can say by choice or by no choice, we had to go and export the products. So when we were exporting it, we were primarily making for everybody else. We were making it for all the brands. We were making for supermarkets. We were making for anybody and everybody. But some of the products, they were coming into the market. Maybe 2 to 3% of the product used to come into the domestic market.
Sure.
And those products started to have a very strong recall, because we had a strong demand on it. At that time, we felt that India is not ready for the kind of production sizes that we were doing for Europe and other countries where the markets were much more developed. We just focused on, keeping the product qualities absolutely international. They used to be, like when you're going into the markets, some distribution segments, they ask you to make the product more competitive and they may pull you down a little on the quality, but we never did that. So that has actually helped us turn from a product into a brand. So that is what I just have to put it across, that we never compromise on the quality and we are very customer centric, very quality centric.
Tulips then is a brand that you've been exploring in the domestic market for about 3 years now. What's the response been?
Well, we've been there for a longer time, but you can say the focus has been for last 3 to 4 years only. And the response has been phenomenal. So
the domestic market then definitely is a focus area, is your focus area.
Yes.
But what's your outlook then on the export markets?
For a company like ours, which is very strong backend, we are one of the most integrated facilities, production facilities in cotton in Asia. So if we have to go out and sell in exports, it's very easy. But we thought that we'll choose a different route and maybe go a little tough. So when we are going out and selling our own brand, it's a little tougher.
Okay.
That is what we are doing in India, and we are doing in exports as well now.
You were talking about your facility and saying, it's one of the most complex when it comes to being an integrated plant and facility. So let's talk about R&D and innovation. My first question is on R&D, and you focus really on R&D. How much have you invested right now? What's the pipeline looking like? Would you be looking at maybe more products then in the pipeline now that you've tested the waters and you've seen that it's clearly working well for you?
For a product like cotton bud, it's a very simple generic product. But what differentiates us is that when we went into backward integration, we were not getting some products, intermediates, which were of that particular quality quotient. We went in for our own plastic injection lines. We were making our own boxes, our own sticks, our own paper stick lines, our own cotton processing, everything in-house.
Sure.
So for that, there was a huge amount of spend that has constantly been done on R&D and on technological upgradations. Since last, I would say, maybe 4 to 5 years, we've been consistently, placing technologies which are helping us automate, helping us get into, one of the best in the world, helping us to reach Six Sigma in terms of quality. So the spends that we would have done right now in research and development would be roughly up to around 10 to 12 crores.
Okay.
And apart from that, the main key focus is that when we are doing something, there's a lot of focus by our internal team.
We were talking about your product and we were talking about the domestic market, and the one thing that I definitely also want to talk about is I understand you supply your products to some of the biggest names when it comes to the retail chain, whether it's a Reliance Retail, DMart, Future Retail and the likes. What's your USP? How have you managed in a span of say 3-4 years to really crack into that?
Nobody had an idea that these products could actually have a very big market over here in India. As we had a lot of experience in European countries, so over there we understood that those numbers are there, which are not seen by the retail chains over here. So we went up to them. We said that, okay, fine, you are not ready to invest into the packagings, you are not ready to invest into the inventories of the product. We will do that for you.
Okay.
So we went, we did for all the chains. We did for, you name it, and we did it for them. And in certain cases, initial cases, we even bore the cost of the development of their product and everything.
Okay. My last couple of questions to you, and I definitely want to understand about how big of a market perhaps outside of the metros. Do you see a market for products like yours? Do you think there's enough understanding of cotton hygiene products?
Very good question. What we have been seeing is that there is a lot of traction when we are now having our sales teams going to this tier 2, tier 3 cities, and we are getting sales out of those places. So we feel that once let's say the benefits, the fruits of these GDP growths, they keep filtered, they percolate down and they filter down to the tier 2, tier 3 cities. I think the demands would increase very, very fast. Although even what we are seeing right now, there's a channel by which we are selling to those tier 2, tier 3 cities in some states through wholesale channels.
Okay, so even as then, these markets are definitely picking up for you, and the domestic market for your own brand is picking up. What's your funding pipeline like?
We are basically an old school bunch with a new outlook, that's it. We do not have any funding at the moment. We believe in working kind of a little free, the way that we want at our pace, sometimes meandering and sometimes maybe, you know, running into rapids. But
so it's all internal accruals, and
it's all internal,
and that has worked best for you?
It's all internal accruals and very little or debt on the company. So we are not, you know, I mean, I'm sitting easy right now, and so is my company. So the point is that we feel that there is a very strong growth opportunity available, and let's say if we can press the accelerator a little faster, we can move fast. But that's something that we just have to, you know, figure out in the next couple of months as to if we really do need to step a little more, or we are doing fine at the moment. As I said, the key focus of our company, our philosophy is whatever you do, big or small, just do it good.
All right, so my question then to you, my last question to you was going to be in terms of what your future plans are. You're talking about, you know, how excited you are about Sri Lanka, about the advertisements and penetrating deeper into Mumbai. What next? What else for you on the plate?
We are betting big on wet wipes. We are betting big on tissues, dry tissues. So as I told you, we are shifting onto paper as well. So we'll be putting up back-end facilities to manufacture paper products, which would be produced on state-of-the-art lines, and which would be done in a way that has not been done. I mean, what we see is almost kind of fragmented, you know, approach towards these, where the back end and the front ends don't meet. So we want to do that. That is one thing which is very important. Second one is about the sales and marketing, which excites us the most, because we see the brand coming of an age and people noticing us. Now, as we slowly and gradually roll out in different cities, we'll be covering almost all the major metros, and then going down to the second rung of cities where we would be having our advertisements running throughout the let's say the paper media and whatever we can. And the main key point is that we just want to let our country know that we are here, and we are here as your personal hygiene experts. Okay, and we hear you loud and clear. Thanks, Rahul, for coming down to our studios. Sure, the pleasure was mine. Thank you very much. Thanks. All right, completely out of time here on this episode. Do get in touch if you have any feedback for us. leadersoftomorrowtimesgroup.com is our email ID. Get in touch with us on social media. Sunanda_J or LOT_ET now are our Twitter handles. And on Facebook, we're at Leaders of Tomorrow on ET Now. Thanks for watching. Have a good night. As per the new tri-tariff order, you now have the power to choose and pay only for the channels you love. To keep watching Leaders of Tomorrow on ET Now, call your cable or DTH operator and get the Times movies and news pack now.
Complete your TV viewing experience with the best of Hollywood entertainment and news. Get the Times movies and news pack at just 13 rupees. Ask your cable or DTH provider now.